All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another ASEA Global Expansion Team Zoom. We have Dr. Rich Michal from North Carolina joining us tonight. So Dr. Michal, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to give us some insight into who you are and why you're involved with ASEA.
Okay, Cindy. Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'd love to talk to everybody on the call and people who will hear it later on as well. Yeah, I'm Dr. Rich Michal. Gosh, what a story. This ASEA thing is, oh gosh, we can approach it from so many different angles, from the science, from the I think of it as a love story, Cindy. It really is a love story. It's a care and concern story. It's about tiny little things that really are the essence of life, biologic life as we know it. Here's the crazy thing. I'll give you a little background about myself because I'm a traditionally trained doc, right? I went to medical school. I had to count the numbers of years ago. Well, let's just put it, I've had a career. I went to UNC undergraduate, then graduated from Duke Medical School and in 1980. And so, a number of decades actually in medicine, starting out in medical school. And, kind of thinking through this trip down memory lane, medicine has changed incredibly. It's just absolutely advanced leaps and bounds. And, isn't that to everybody's benefit on this call, right? I mean, you don't want your doctors, your medical providers to be practicing historic medicine. I mean, you want them practicing contemporary things, right? And, the great thing about this call tonight, Cindy, and the reason I agreed to come on this call is because I figured there are very few, if any, doctors on this call. Now, it's not that I'm intimidated. I talk to doctors all the time. I speak around in North Carolina and even neighboring states to doctors about how to manage a particular cardiovascular disorder. But, the ASEA story, and it's a love story, gosh, it's not about prescriptions, Cindy. It's about really non-prescriptions, which is so amazing. That's why people on this call hearing it, you don't have to be a medical practitioner. I mean, honestly, if it was all about prescription and all that, you couldn't do it. So there wouldn't be a point in me talking to you tonight or you listening. But the disclaimer is that it's not it's not intended to cure, diagnose, prevent, or treat any diseases. But I'm going to tell you how I got started in it because I'm a traditional doc, right? And what in the world am I doing messing around with something that isn't a prescription, right? I mean, I think that's a very valid question. And honestly, very successful practice. Started a faith-based practice right out of residency in North Carolina, have stayed in the same community all that time. Built the practice up to about 10 or 12 providers, 60, 70 employees. Sold that practice. I call it the volume practice. For the past 4 years, I've been doing a concierge practice, and I love it because we really have more time with the patients. We get down into the nitty-gritty of lifestyle and how that interacts. And we really delve into things besides just prescriptions, which is really a lot of fun because there's a melding of kind of both worlds, if you will. And really, when it comes right down to it, this is I love what I'm doing now. And hint, hint, we're seeing some amazing things happen. The things that take us out early, besides an accident, and besides cancer, is cardiovascular disease. That unexpected, quote unquote, heart attack, stroke, heart failure, the things that what? That happened to who, when, where, and we're actually seeing plaque regress, which is absolutely awesome thing. But let me get back to the ASEA story because kind of this all pulls together. So I'm busy writing prescriptions, treating traditional medicine. And then life happens to all of us, doesn't it really? Doesn't it really happen to all of us? And life happened to me intersecting redox a little over 5 years ago. And I got a phone call 2 days after Christmas from my daughter. And she has a big family, big family. Right now, they're up to 12. But at
Whoa.
the time, at the time, Gideon was 13. And I get this call. We had just seen them for Christmas. And Anna mentions about 3 sentences worth about what's happened with him and what he's doing that morning. I said, honey, get him to the emergency room right now. Don't even wait for the ambulance because they live out in kind of the boonies. And so they got him there. He spent 5 weeks in my alma mater, Duke. And you never want to be the star patient in a university medical center. Never, never. Don't be that person. But he was. And honestly, they tried everything to figure out his case, to get him through his acute issues, which were heavy, heavy, heavy neurologic. So brain challenges out the wazoo. And, you can imagine a 13-year-old leaving a hospital basically towards rehab with a feeding tube, face planting when he walked, and he couldn't speak. Okay. So that was the scenario. And, fast forward several months later, families trying everything, Duke did not have traditional answers. So they went non-traditional, internet. I call it lotions, potions, contraptions, you name it. They burned through thousands of dollars of savings. And really nothing was helping Gideon until the love story happened. And the love story was basically somebody sharing the story of these molecules. And it happened in a quilting class of all places. And that helped that person tremendously through another challenge, an unbelievable challenge. The daughter of that person knew my daughter in high school. She's reaching out on social media, says, hey, pray for my family. We're strapped. We don't know what's going on. Emotionally, we're zapped. We don't know what to do for our teenage son. So enter this love story about one person telling another person. Incredible, right? About something really, really simple that back in my training, we thought was inconsequential. It was truly thought to be inconsequential. But what it turns out, Cindy, is that these really tiny, tiny molecules that basically, if you hold it in your mouth for 30 seconds, probably 95% of those have already gotten into your body and they're already starting to do the work, which is amazing. You can't ingest other nutrients, juices and certainly pharmaceuticals. You can't do that. It takes a while to be absorbed. There are challenges in absorption. This stuff happens rapidly. And what happened for him is truly amazing. Within 3 to 4 weeks of ingesting these molecules, basically, my daughter saw big time changes. And I'll never forget going to their house for a birthday party. And she said, Dad, Gideon's getting better. And I said, you're kidding, really? Wow, what's going on? And she said, well, I want you to hear about it. She said, do you mind? And I said, no, I don't mind at all. I mean, if it's helping my grandson, I know people on this call, probably sometimes you feel helpless, maybe even hopeless at times, really, to be honest, with things going on in your life, whether it's, a health challenge or maybe it's a financial challenge, just life happens. Well, basically, I said, yeah, I'm going to listen to this. Well, I heard the presentation and a fellow named Dr. Dick Walker explained and said it's about redox. And I heard this term over and over again. And quite honestly, I didn't want anybody in the room to ask me about it because I honestly didn't know. Cindy. And it's because busy doctors, busy doctors who have a practice, who are working 14-hour days, who are challenged themselves to make it financially, just don't have time to listen. I mean, it's not a smokescreen, it's real, you know?
Yeah, right.
But when my grandson got better, I said, I've got to listen to this. In fact, I went out, bought hundreds of dollars of textbooks, looked up redox biochemistry, because lo and behold, after medical school, all this basic science is being done, and uncovered this whole branch of biochemistry that absolutely has exploded. And it's exploded in the last 15 or so years. Now, if you go to Google Scholar, not Google, Google Scholar, and you type in redox biochemistry and whatever you're interested in, whether it's redox biochemistry and brain problems or heart problems, or, whatever organ system you care to look at, you'll find not only hundreds, but thousands of articles. And it's blowing up as we speak. And, but here's the kind of cool thing. It's like taking these dots, and, the company ASEA doesn't make those medical claims, but when you look at the biochemistry and you see what's going on biochemically in different challenge areas, and you say, gee whiz, this involves kind of this imbalance, if you will, between things that want electrons, compounds that don't want electrons, and they actually have electrons to donate. And when that interchange happens, that's called a redox reaction. And it seems so simple, and yet it's elegant, because when these tiny things happen, and it happens in fractions of a second, then communication happens. And when better communication happens within cells, the cells work better. And whatever their intent is, whether it's a liver cell, a brain cell, a kidney cell, immune function cell, something to guard us, something to detect, and so forth, they work better. And it's just like, these doggone things that we don't live without anymore, right? I mean, who goes around without their cell phone, right? So, with no signal, it's wonderful, but it just doesn't work. And with one bar, it doesn't work very well. We all want that 3 or 4 bar signal. And, your cells are no different, really. And so, all of a sudden, this whole world opens up in front of me, and I say, I got to learn about this stuff, because this is real stuff. It's real science. And, as I got to learn more and more about it, I found out, there's only one company in the whole world that has stabilized redox molecules. And, when you look at the basic sciences, you realize, my grandson had an external challenge. He had an external challenge that absolutely shifted his balance incredibly in the wrong direction. And he was paying a price for that. Just aging, we don't have to have this horrible external challenge. Just aging alone, we lose 10% of these molecules that we would generate natively. We lose it about 10% for every decade after age 10. Now, those on the call, just kind of do your quick math. If you're 50, 5th decade, 6th decade, you kind of, and we're in deficit. Most of us are in a big time kind of imbalance situation. And so, I just think this is an incredible opportunity to kind of take these molecules and get them back into our bodies. And it's just an amazing. So to me, when the company was able to through research actually learn to stabilize these molecules, that was the big watershed event, because now you've got these stabilized molecules that literally can be a game changer. And it obviously was for my grandson. So that got me to stop in my tracks, take a look, I've done the research, looked at it, and it's just incredible. And Cindy, it is not stopping. Research centers around the world are putting multi-millions into researching redox biochemistry and how does it affect this? How does it affect that? What are the ramifications? And really, it's truly amazing. We're on the cusp of, amazing breakthroughs. And the point is, right now, the only company that has them stabilized outside the body is ASEA. And it comes into liquid stuff, comes in a gel, which is absolutely amazing. When we talk about, the skin is the biggest organ surface wise, and can people tell that it's aging? I'll ask everybody on the call can answer that one, right? But there are ways to actually, intersect with that problem of aging and actually do something about it. And it's not a cover up. That's the great thing. It's actually dealing with the aging process on a cellular and a genetic level. And the recent studies have shown that it's exciting for me because, as I mentioned earlier, I've kind of subspecialized a little bit, as a family doc in the cardiovascular area. And one of the things that we are understanding more and more about plaque formation in the arteries is that it probably involves a number of different things kind of coexisting, but it involves, atherogenic lipoproteins. People hear that big term. You can kind of think subsets of cholesterol. There are bad kinds of subsets of cholesterol. And, you talk about levels of that, but there's also this idea of charged particles, how the smooth muscle cells in our arteries go through a transformation. And guess what that process is? It's inflammation. So if you have no inflammation there, but you have high levels of cholesterol, the cholesterol actually passes through the wall of the artery. But if you have inflammation, it changes the smooth muscle cells within the artery wall and actually allows the bad types of cholesterol to actually build up and start a plaque. So it's amazing to think that the company has, they've done research on the actual redox molecules and found that it actually works in genetic pathways to dampen down chronic inflammation. So it's like, connect the dots a little bit here. If chronic inflammation is not good for us, it could potentially cause problems. You've got to connect the dots, but it's intriguing to me to see that connection. But it's important to realize that, are there non redox ways to control inflammation? Yes, but it involves sweat, right? Exercise, eating properly. Those things are a lot harder than just drinking that,
Right.
So, it's come full circle for me. I think personal experience stopped me in my tracks, made me take a looked at the science. It's unquestionably there. And the breakthrough is there, and it's for people to really take a really hard look and consider it, because the ramifications of it being able to intersect with different organ systems, different issues, different challenges. And the cool thing is, quite honestly, is that you don't have to be challenged medically or health wise to even want to use it. I mean, you could be just an athlete that wants to beat everybody. I want to be number one. What athlete doesn't want to be number one? Now, they aren't going to talk about it so much because I'm not going to give you a leg up on what I'm doing.
Right.
But it enhances performance incredibly, and ability to recover, which is really important in training. And we've only talked about the redox side of it. I mean, the company has so many other cool things that they are doing. I love the cell performance line. It's absolutely incredible. Those of us that are not nutrition freaks, I need the backup, I need the backstop, and I love the via line as well. So, it's an incredible, it's an opportunity that I think everybody that's on this call, especially people that don't know anything really much about it, need to take a hard look.
So let me just stop you there, Rich. So you have, busy doctor, had this personal experience with your grandson, stopped you in your tracks, did the science. The science worked out. I mean, you opened your eyes like, holy smokes, look what we have in our hands. Did you all of a sudden feel this overwhelming obligation to share it with other people?
Yeah, I really did. I really did. And I think um it's very interesting because doing a concierge practice, I have more time to actually talk with people. believe it or not, your doctor has time to talk with you, to engage. And there are some people still that if it doesn't come in a prescription, they don't want any part of it. And that's fine. I mean, that's their frame of reference. And I'm certainly not going to, try to push something that they don't believe in. On the other hand, there's a lot of people that quite honestly are frightened of pharmaceuticals, and they're worried about side effects, they're worried about drug interactions. And quite honestly, as I said, in terms of the redox products, I mean, these are tiny little molecules, energetic little boogers that they get in so fast that they're not drug interacting, we're not worried about that. There's no toxicity that's been shown at all with these molecules. So, it becomes really kind of one of the more easy things to do, and to engage people and just say, here's a brand new branch of science. Look at what it's doing. If chronic inflammation, we believe chronic inflammation is just bad for our bodies. And now the studies have been shown using the redox have been shown not only using the skin application, the topical application, but obviously the internal one, have been shown to decrease those pathways. And I think, it's absolutely amazing that it really gets down into that, genetic pathway. It's very, very deep. It's not a surface Band-Aid.
So let me ask you this. The company turned down a huge offer from a pharmaceutical company. They could have gone the easy way and they could have just taken the check, sold it to the pharmaceutical company, and God only knows what would have happened to it. But, and healthy people certainly wouldn't have had access to it, even if they did decide to release it for some specific drug, situation. So they decide to deliver it to the people through word of mouth. And, this is the network marketing distribution system is probably one of the most misunderstood distribution methods in the world. It's gotten a bad rap from companies just, doing sleazy things to people just being ignorant about the business model. Did that intimidate you at all, that, oh my goodness, this incredible science is being delivered through network marketing, and I have spent a lot of time in medical school. What's going to happen to my reputation? Did you ever worry about any of that?
Well, Lord, Cindy, it was hard enough for me to get my mind around the science, and I kind of wrapped that. But network marketing, it was just foreign, it really was. And wow, that part just didn't know really what I was doing, but I knew that that's the business model that was chosen by the founders. So, you just kind of go with it. I think in the end run, it was brilliant. I would have never, it would have never crossed my mind. It wasn't in my wheelhouse. Yes, it complicated, and but the thing I learned is that if I'm going to bless other people, I've got to learn how to do that, because that's the way it gets out. And so that's where you rely on people that have been doing it longer than you have. And I was on the phone constantly. I didn't even know how to get somebody signed up, had no clue, but I just knew that this could benefit them, and you just gotta do it that way. I think it's an incredibly generous thing. I mean, the company is unbelievably generous. I've been an entrepreneur my whole professional life, ran a complete practice, 70 people. Your personnel, your people are very, very important to you. You want that to work. You bring in the best people, the sharpest minds to do the things that I cannot do, that complement me. What I see of ASEA, I mean, they're ranked in the top major companies in the state of Utah. I mean, because the employees value that. The way they treat their employees is really incredible. And there's we haven't talked about it, but there's a mindset, there's a worldview, if you will. There's a frame of reference that the leadership does here, and I'm telling you, it's very compelling. I saw that a little bit at the beginning. It made me feel better by being a part of that organization, and the more I have learned, the more I have seen, it's only deepened. My respect for them is incredible. And it really is up to us. You're not going to, the people on this call, I mean, you're just not going to hear about it in the newspapers, radio, TV. I mean, you're just not going to see that, because that's just the decision the company made. And in the end run, it's a benefit to those that are actually doing that work. And so, spreading the news. So yeah, it was different. It really was different for me. So it was hard to get my hands around that one.
Who did you reach
but I'm
out
better.
to? You've gotten better. Did you reach out to patients? Did you reach out to family and friends and neighbors? Did you reach out to other doctors? What was your first inclination?
Yeah, obviously you want family, those that you care about, about, you want them to hear about it. Obviously, in settings where I saw it to be appropriate, yeah, you reach out to patients. Because of my relationship with the patients, I have them sign a disclosure. Whether they use it or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to be my patient. I don't really care. I think it's in your best interest to take a look at it. But they just have to know that because of the business model, that I could not make a fortune off of them, but I just disclose that to the patients. But it honestly, and now it's like, gee whiz, doing interactions like what we're doing tonight, very unlikely for me to ever meet anybody that's going to hear this or be influenced by it. But I hope that it will be productive. I hope that it will get the word out. I hope that it will ring some bells inside of people's hearts, because honestly, it comes back to a love story. Because that turning down that unbelievable offer from the pharmaceutical company, that's where the love started. That's where the care, the concern started. And that emanates throughout. And I think that's a part of the whole nature. And I love that, because that's a one-to-one or one-to-a-few influence. And really the motivation is, I care for you. I really care for you. And you've got to take a look at this. It may be right for you. Please look at it, evaluate it. Give it a go. Get back to the person who even invited you to see this right now, because they care for you.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? It because of this business model that a caring friend at a quilting class can reach out to her friend who she honestly cares about, her and her family, and says, this stuff might help your son. Try it. It helped me. And your daughter had enough faith and, connection with that person that she did. And even though she's related to probably one of the best doctors in North Carolina, her quilting class friend was able to help her son with a technology that you'd never heard of. I mean, and I love what you said at the beginning of the call, that you don't want to deal with doctors that are dealing with prehistoric medicine. You want doctors that are staying up with the cutting edge of what's being discovered out there, right? And this is one of those things that is being uncovered, being discovered, and starting to be appreciated in a big way. Right?
Right. So, again, the fact is that, again, we're not talking about pharmaceuticals because almost nobody on this call or that would listen in would be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
But because it's a supplement, it's not intended to cure, diagnose, prevent, or treat any diseases. But I guarantee you, if you come up to my daughter or to Gideon, oh, by the way, let me tell you the rest of the story. So, just a few weeks ago, he actually participated. They live outside of Raleigh, the Raleigh, North Carolina area. He came in 5th in it was a marathon, near marathon, but he had graduated into the adult class, the adult race class. So he's 19, 20, but he's racing against guys that are 25, 30. And there is a big advantage to be a little bit older in these longer races. But he came in 5th. So from face planting and neurologically brain challenged to doing that. So
Within a marathon. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Michaels, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share some time with us. Really, really appreciate you and all you do. And I'm so glad that your family's healthy and especially your grandson, and really appreciate working with you in this amazing project. We're all touching a ton of lives, and it takes all of us to get the word out. None of us can do it alone. So really appreciate you being part of this project.
Thanks so much, Cindy.
All righty. Thanks again. Good night, everybody.